What's going on? What's going on? You listen to King Cam Ujumbe podcast. Ujumbe means message. And yeah, we are back and in full effect. And yeah, I am glad that we are here. Yeah, this is about to get good. Man, it has how long it's been? Almost a couple of weeks. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, we got to get down with the get down. There's a lot of things that we have to unpack and deal with. So today, we're going to discuss the Temple of Karnak, the hidden path of initiates. Now, a few weeks ago, we gave like an overview to the Temple of Karnak and everything, and it was great. But there's some things I gotta unpack. There's some things I gotta deal with, right? So yeah, hit the like button, get you something to write on, something to write with. Greetings, Miss Blue. What's going on? And hit the like button and get you something to write on and something to write with because this is about to be fun. I do, I do want to give you guys a disclaimer. Shout out to my big brother Ferguson. He told me to slow down a little bit. He told me to slow down just a little bit because I would go 1,000 miles an hour. But yeah, but I gotta get the information out. I gotta share it with the people. As I get it, as I write it, I gotta share it, right? But yeah, we're gonna talk about the hidden path of initiates. And yeah, we're dealing with we're still on the Karnak complex. So I would like to welcome you all back. We're on a journey through the hidden histories and sacred spaces of ancient Africa. Yeah, remember, Kemet is in Africa. I'm just saying. And so, as we move beyond the towering columns of Karnak at the Hypostyle Hall, we know the air it's different. So, and one day I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to really go. I read about these things, but one day I'm gonna have to go and take a road trip. So, but in this place, to my understanding, there's corridors hidden from the gaze of ordinary people and ordinary worshipers. There's a secret set of chambers of Amun, right? The sanctuaries they were there on they were for they weren't for tourists or anybody like that. They were for these places and spaces were for those who were duly initiated. Yeah. And these spaces were not merely storage rooms or sanctuary chapels, right? But yeah, so today we're going to answer a few questions. What was the true purpose of Karnak beyond being a tourist attraction? Yeah, that's the first question. How did the architecture itself function as a spiritual instrument? And what role did initiations and priestly ritual play in sustaining Ma'at? And what did it mean to encounter the hidden one in darkness? Yeah, I'm on that kind of time, and I'm sure it's been a minute, and we gotta get ourselves back together, right? And so today we're gonna talk about the inner sanctuaries, the chapels of Karnak, the sanctuary of the bark or the bark of Ra, the throne of the hidden God or the hidden Netaru, and I'm checking roll. Yeah, I gave y'all a few weeks off. I hope you took advantage of your time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we on that today. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the inner sanctuaries, the chapels of Karnak. I think there's 4. Okay, the sanctuary of the bark or the solar bark, and I'm chicken roll, right? So these spaces weren't just storage rooms or small little places just to duck off or just to have for decoration. These were chapels. Did you guys know that there were chapels in the temple complex or smaller sanctuaries? I didn't know that. So these were the living vessels of that energy, carefully designed to maintain the cosmic balance between the Netaru, the ancestors, the kings, and the community. So we're going to get into the hidden heart of Karnak, where sacred knowledge was preserved, rituals were performed, and the very architecture itself became a conduit of sacred science and energy. Okay, so when people think of Karnak, they think of Ipet-Isut, the Ipet-Isut, 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 the most select places. They imagine the grandeur that's visible to everybody. The massive pylons and the forest columns of the hypostyle hall and towering obelisks catching the sun's rays. And yeah, it's something to see. But beneath all of that, beneath the public face, there is a hidden science, right? Karnak whispers, has its whispers and shadows. Karnak has its sealed doors and rituals. Karnak, a place where true mystery of Amun was guarded, generation after generation, passed down from mouth to ear, right? For over 2,000 years, if not longer, because I learned there are some some chambers under this temple. Yeah, it can go. It can go. What's going on, brother Issa? What's going on? Shout out to the fan, One Voice Africa. Yeah, we back in the mix. I hope you got your pen and paper because this is about to be legendary. We're about to have some fun. So the ancient Egyptians understood something profound, that the most sacred truths were never displayed openly. The divine, the Neteru, the ancestors hide things. They hide knowledge only for those, and they only reveal it to those who are seeking it. Okay, the knowledge that sustains all life and wisdom and understanding. So the hidden one, whose very name Amun means, it means Amun, the hidden one, embodied this principle, and his temple reflected it perfectly. But I had to get you guys to understand this. The temple of Karnak, the Ipit Asut, okay, was a grand temple. It was major, depends on the era. There, it may be Amun for the new kingdom, but it may be Ptah in the old kingdom, or Osiris, which we're going to talk about. So the outer courts, were for the people, for processions, and for the spectacle, right? And so now, but the inner sanctuaries, the crypts beneath the altars, the crypts beneath the shrines, sealed chambers, where in these places where the statues slept in darkness between festivals. Okay, see what I'm saying? There are, matter of fact, I learned that there are over 700 statues of Sekhmet. Okay, I'm sorry, not Sekhmet, Sekhmet in the same area. Okay, so we're going to go inside these forbidden spaces. We're going to explore these chapels where the Insubiti or the Simatawi sought divine renewal, and underground crypts where Osirian resurrection rites were unfolded in total darkness. Okay, in darkness, that's where light is revealed. You see what I'm saying? And so we're going to get into that. This journey, we're going to take us through layers of Egyptian spiritual science, sacred geometry, encoded in architecture, ritual practices designed to manipulate divine energy, and a priestly hierarchy, a system so precise that a single mispronounced word could disrupt the whole balance. It could throw off everything. The Heka, or the words, okay, that word of power. What's going on, Sister Abina? What's going on? One of our illustrious members. She's greeting everybody that come in. Hit the like button as you come in. But yeah, it's been a minute. So this I had to take a break, but there's another reason why we didn't do it last week. I'm gonna tell y'all in a minute. Yeah. So this is gonna be good. So now, in the inner sanctuaries, okay, the chapel, shrines, and the hidden rooms, right? Really quick, we're gonna talk about the sanctuaries, the chapels of Karnak. I did not know that there was chapels in and around the temple of Karnak. Okay, we're gonna talk about the sanctuary of the bark of Ra, the boat, the solar boat, and then I didn't know that there was two kinds of boats. There was a boat of 1,000,000 years, right? And then there was a night boat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like that. That's these last few weeks been interesting. So, but now here we go. So as we go into the deeper understanding of Karnak's hidden corridors, the scale of secrecy becomes apparent. Unlike the hypostyle hall, which welcomes everybody, it can be overwhelming. These chambers are intimate. These chambers are small spaces, dimly lit and deliberately enclosed. Each room served a purpose, right? And so some of the chapels house the statues of Amun-Ra, some Sekhmet, some Ma'ut, Okay, with at that time, it was adorned in gold and a different jewelry, the eyes inlaid with stone, and so it would catch the sunlight as it comes in. Right. Others were dedicated to Ma'ut, like I said, the Divine Mother. Okay, where offerings of incense and food were placed daily. Okay, it wasn't just for Ma'ut, but it was for the ancestors. See what I'm saying? We have to realize that this Egypt is in Africa, and they did African things. And so Kansu, the boy of the night or the son of night, right? The lunar Neteru had a secluded chamber aligned with the moon cycles. There were people, there was priests during the day, but there was also priests at night that dealt with the moon cycles, where priests performed nighttime observances, right? So let me paint this picture real quick. Let me do that. Okay, so think about it. You are a priest or a Kari Heb, okay, or hemniter, or hemniter, okay, okay. Imagine you're a priest. A second, you are doing your work, and remember, these temples weren't just a place of worship in a sense. This was a place of education and knowledge. See what I'm saying? Where nowadays the church is on one corner and the school is around the corner. They was all together. Okay, and so think about it. You just got through your purification process at the sacred lake, right? The cold water shocking your skin, and this before the dawn, right? And you just shaved and you got the white linen, and now you're walking barefoot through these corridors, lit only by a single oil lamp. Man, that's crazy. And so these places were seen and understood and revealed to those who was prepared. You see what I'm saying? And yeah, they dipped in the sacred lake, and then they went to that next process. Okay. And for these priests, it took them years to go from one level to the next. It wasn't like in school, you're in fourth grade, then you're in fifth grade. No, it took them years to gain mastery. See what I'm saying? And so we have the architecture of mystery, where the storage rooms were sacred space. They were sacred themselves, and they had ritual vessels inside. They had bronze chalices, silver cistrums, and ceremonial barks, where they were arranged in a certain order in their place. Everything had its place. Everything, right? And so they were positioned along the visible axes, mirrored the celestial order, ensuring the energy of Amun flowed through the temple or whatever, basically Amun or the hidden one, right? And so the walls themselves were actual text. And we talked about how each pylon or each wall of the meta nature was like a puzzle piece. See what I'm saying? So you have to read both sides to get a full understanding. Reliefs depicting creation, divine kingship, and offerings to the Neteru lined the chambers. Some inscriptions were secret spells and secret knowledge for the initiate, right? Intended only for the priests who had went through that process. Okay. You had to be prepared to read them. You had to be prepared. Your consciousness aligned through the years of training. You had to be prepared. Okay. And so then we had patterns repeated across the rooms. There was lotus and papyrus motifs, symbolic of the primordial waters of noon, from which the creation emerged. The lotus blossom opening at the dawning of the sun. The papyrus, that was a plant of Lower Egypt, which is we would say Lower Egypt, but it's actually, technically the northern part where the Nile Delta is, representing the delta's fertile marshes where creation first took form. Okay. And so each chamber, I know this is the image of King Tut and his wife. Okay. And then they have the lotus right there, right? I love these pictures, right? It's pretty cool. So each doorway, each hidden niche was a node in a sacred network connecting the Neteru, connecting the ancestors with the people. Okay, this cosmic map encoded in the hypostyle hall Visitors may never understand, or they never have seen these spaces, yet they were central to maintaining Ma'at in order. So they may have never seen these sacred spaces, maybe up until excavation, maybe up until probably 100 years ago, when they removed the sand and everything and kind of rebuilt it. Now it's a tourist attraction, but at one point in time, you was not supposed to go into those spaces. I'm just saying, right? But even those secret chambers, even those secret spaces, they were essential to maintaining order and balance across Waset. Okay. Then we had the sensory experience. It's not just things to be seen, it's stuff that is felt and heard, and even the smell. See what I'm saying? The smell of these chambers that we had myrrh and frankincense had soaked into the very stones over the centuries. It was baked in. Oils mixed with natron salt, the faint copper scent of bronze vessels. Even in silence, even in the darkness, your senses told you something. This place is living. Karnak was a living place. It was alive with something beyond physical. Okay, the acoustics were intentional also. Certain chambers amplified whispers, others absorbed sound completely, creating pockets of absolute silence where a priest could hear only his own heartbeat. Have you ever been there? Like in like if you were just relaxing and chilling, and it's so quiet that you can hear your heartbeat? Yeah, yeah. It was a reminder that he himself was a vessel of divine rhythm, connected to the ancestors, connected to the people and the Netaru. Okay, and even temperature would change. Okay, depends on the room. It may be hot in one room, maybe cold in the other. Okay, matter of fact, in your house, you may have the temperature set at a certain level, but certain rooms are warmer or cooler. They're warmer or cooler because of various things, and sometimes they're warmer or cooler because of certain energy that's in that room. Mm. Now, and so these priests paid attention to everything because everything meant something. And these same priests were the ones that lined the temple up with the stars. So everything has something, everything meant something to them, right? Right. So now, if you are enjoying the content, like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Yeah, we're back in full effect. And yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. If you enjoy Nile Valley culture, if you enjoy Ethiopia, Kush, and Kemet, like and subscribe, right? Let's learn together. Let's go. So, by the way, now here's one thing about it. We've been rolling for about 5 years now, and I would normally I would assume that everybody understands what this symbol is or what it means, the Ankh. So what we've done, we put together a free quick guide. If you want a free quick guide on some of these symbols, okay, like and comment decode, and we'll send that to you. We'll get it sent to you. Okay, if you want a free quick guide, like and comment decode, and we got you. All right, let's get it. Now, here we go. The hidden chapels or the hidden chambers of Amun. These are the chapels of Karnak. I told you, I did not know there were chapels in and around Karnak. I didn't know that. I didn't know. And so it's amazing to find out that this grand place had these secret spaces. See what I'm saying? So if you are following along, if you're writing it down, so the chapels of Karnak is the White Chapel, the Red Chapel, the chapels of Osiris, and the Imperial Chapel, chapels of the pharaohs and the ancestors. Right here we go. Now the White Chapel. Now let's get to it. Starting with the most elegant one, the White Chapel is it was The Whitechapel of Senusret the first, is located in the open air arena or open air areas right around here. Okay. Okay, that's where the Whitechapel would be. But you guys, if you guys have, let me know if it's another location. But to my understanding, is right around here. Okay, and so as we begin our journey with the Whitechapel, uh, we have King Senusret, the jewel of the Middle Kingdom. We talked about Sobek Neferu. That is the ancestor of Queen Sobek Neferu during the Middle Kingdom, built nearly 4,000 years ago. This space here was built 4,000 years ago, around 1950 before Common Era (BCE), during the reign of the one of Egypt's most powerful pharaohs. But even though he was a powerful pharaoh at the time, the Middle Kingdom was shaky. It was, and we may have to get into detail about that. But think about this, okay? It was crafted in white limestone. This chapel once gleamed in the heart of Karnak like a beacon of rebirth. It was erected for the Hatshepsut festival, which we discussed many times, an ancient jubilee through which a king's divine vitality is renewed. Think about this for a moment. The Egyptians, the people of Kemet, understood that even divine kingship needed periodic renewal. A pharaoh wasn't just crowned once and that's it. You know what I'm saying? He had to be recrowned. He had to be reset symbolically, reborn through knowledge and wisdom and ritual, typically after 30 years of rule. Okay. And so here, Senusret stands in carved in serene perfection. He's offering Amun-Ra, the Muntu. He's giving offers to Ra, okay, Muntu and Ptah and other divine powers. Along the base are the 42 gnomes of Kemet. They're inscribed, each gnome or each small neighborhood in Egypt brought a tribute, brought gifts to the king, signifying or showing that the two lands, the north and south, breathed as one, even during the Middle Kingdom. See, what happens is we would bypass we would look at the old kingdom because of the pyramids, right? We'd skip the Middle Kingdom and go right into the 18th and 19th dynasty. No, every era was important. This is the reason why Kemet lasted over 5,000 years as an empire. See what I'm saying? And so here's a little image here of the gnomes. I can't expand like I want to, but yeah. Brother Mo, shout out to Brother Mo. He loves maps. You know what I'm saying? And this is an image for those who like to pause. These break down the various gnomes of Upper and Lower Egypt. And it shows how they pronounced it and how they spelled it. Like it, right? So the inscriptions along in the Whitechapel were among the most refined or the most they're the best preserved. Okay, these texts and hymns were offering to the present king. It was divinely sanctioned. He was showing that he was ruler of Upper Lower Egypt. And here's some notable inscriptions though. Some notable inscriptions include the processional text of the gnomes around the base of the chapel. Around the base of the chapel. Each of the 42 gnomes, sacred provinces, or we would like to call them neighborhoods, to kind of get a modern day understanding, or cities of Egypt, is personified presenting offerings, right? And so there's one that says he is beloved of Ra, Lord of the thrones of the two lands, who has given him all life, stability, dominion forever. These phrases were repeated in royal titulary form, showing that the Whitechapel functioned as a portable text of divine recognition. It wasn't just a pretty place to put things. Okay. This was a solar text. Okay, a text of rebirth of divine kingship through sacred utterance. Okay, and it has some sacred geometry. It has some sacred geometry. Symbolically, this chapel is a chamber of balance or chamber of ma'at, like that feather. Okay, where the pharaoh's body becomes a mirror of Egypt's sacred geography, and through knowledge, the king reaffirms ma'at, the eternal order. So the proportions of the structure itself encodes sacred mathematics, the supreme mathematics. The ratio of its height to width mirrors the proportion found in pyramid construction. Just because the pyramids wasn't being built during the Middle Kingdom, that does not mean the knowledge was lost. Let me say that again. Just because the pyramids were not being built during some of these eras, I think. Well, I stand correct. I stand corrected. The pyramids were all the way up until Sobek Neferu. They were building pyramids, right? So I stand correct. I had to think about that. I had to think about that. My bad. But they weren't as on a grand scale like the big three, right? They were still, but they was building them. So they used that. It, I guess you could say it wasn't compartmentalized. It wasn't compartmentalized where they only had the knowledge for the pyramids and nothing else. They used that knowledge for other things, even a small chapel. That's profound. To have such attention to detail to small things, it lets people know how important and how sacred this space was, right? The spacing of the columns follows patterns observed in the movement of the celestial bodies, the stars, the sun, moon, and stars. So it's not just a celebration of rulership, but a ritual of divine vibration, okay, where the harmony between heaven and earth is reestablished through the king. So now, here we go. Our girl, the Red Chapel of Hatshepsut, the throne of divine manifestation. Yeah, the Red Chapel of Hatshepsut. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She even built one. Yeah, I told you at the Temple of Karnak, kings and rulers added onto it, not destroying it or demolishing it. I'm just saying, it's stuff, there's weird stuff going on in the United States where people like to demolish things instead of add on to it. You know. So as centuries pass after ruler, these are centuries. So when goodness, King, these are hundreds of years have passed since Senusret and the White Chapel was built. Okay, then we have Queen Hatshepsut. Okay, hundreds of years. Okay, her red chapel built on red quartzite and black granite, red and black. That means something. It's symbolic, right? It once stood between the fourth and fifth pylons at the very core of the temple. It was actually because a lot of these chapels were moved and rebuilt. Okay, of course, because you want to make the space for tourists, right? Right. So they removed that. That would have been cool to see this chapel, this space inside of Karnak, where it's supposed to be. Man. So this was the shrine or the bark shrine or the boat shrine of Ra, or the hidden one, the resting place of his sacred boat during festivals like the beautiful feast of the valley, right? But symbolically, it was more than a resting place. It was a womb of manifestation where the Neteru, the ancestors' presence, entered the visible world. Okay, it was a touchdown point, right? So we have the divine birth story. We got to have a little story time, right? Yeah. So on the walls, Hatshepsut proclaims her divine birth. Ra himself visits her mother, Queen Amos, shaping the destiny of a king in the form of a queen. So let me read it. Let me read it. Let me read a little bit. Let me read a little bit. Ra took the form of her husband, the majesty of King Jehuti Mesu. Jehuti Mesu. Okay. The Neteru the Netaru's perfume was that of punt and all his costly goods. Then spoke the Netaru, Ra, Hatshepsut shall be the name of this daughter whom I have placed in your body. She shall exercise excellent kingship in this whole land. So there is a divine birth story in Egypt. And the king actually was the queen. All right, Queen Hatshepsut. And so through these carvings, she established herself not just as a mortal ruler, but a living power of the hidden one, or of Ra, the very embodiment of divine kingship in feminine form. Okay. And remember, she as we discussed before, as we discussed last spring, she admired Queen Sebek Neferu. So yeah, she was following that pattern, that process. And this was controversial, after. And so by her proclaiming that, her stepson, Tutmosis III, attempted to erase many of her monuments, including the portions of this chapel. Yeah, he I have reason to believe that there was some kind of bitterness between Hatshepsut and and Tutmosis the third, because they stayed into it. They say, like, bro, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, so, but it's the harder he fought to remove her from history, she still showed up, you know. So, um, she was connected. She was, in my opinion, she was connected to the hidden one, to the ancestor. So it was very important that she her name is written and respected, right? And so we have the red chapel's colors. Okay, we have deep radiant red signifies a color vitality of the life force, linking it to the blood of the ancestors. Okay, the sacred fire that fuels creation. Red quartzite catches light differently than the white limestone of the White Chapel. At dawn, some people say that it glows from within as if it as if containing its own fire. Okay, this is not just for aesthetic. It was temple technology. It was sacred technology. Within these walls, rituals were of renewal and revelation unfolded. And the moment when divine power became visible, audible, and embodied through the Neteru, or through the ruler. And there was even text in there. There was even text in there, right? And so here's a little picture right there. Okay. And there's other chapels in and around that complex. Okay. And it is a oblong shape. It is a long shape. All right. Like a rectangle. And so the Red Chapel's inscriptions were among the richest ritual records at Karnak, and many of them detail the daily festival rites performed for Ra's journey. There's key texts like the beautiful feast of the valley. Okay, let me see the fam was talking. Okay, what's going on, Grand Man Tarot? What's going on? Yeah, we're gonna have to. It's about to be the end of the year. We have to bring the fan back. We got to bring Rock With Me Nation and Theo B back, because I got some questions. I got a question. They're trying to bring Kane the Conqueror back. I need to know some stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Grand Madam Terror. I really appreciate it. Yeah, with the Rock With Me Nation. That's cool. And so they have the beautiful Feast Valley text, inscriptions of Ra's bark or Amun's bark being carried from Karnak to the West Bank at Del El Bahari. These processional inscriptions were visible or visual hymns reenacting the Neteru's and ancestors' renewal through union of Heteru and the Theban triad. Okay, and they would say something like this: Amun, who comes forth in peace to see his mother Heteru, mistress of the West, the earth rejoices, at his procession. Hearts are purified when he passes. Then you have the hidden one. Okay, you are. They will say something like, "You are the one who made all that is the hidden form, mysterious appearance, the Netaru. Know not your true image." Hmm. And so these texts portray Hatshepsut as the servant priest. Okay, the servant priest of Amun's mystery system, reaffirming her divine birth and authority through ritual speech. Right. So far, we talked about the white chapel, the red chapel. Here comes the chapels of Osiris. Yeah, yeah. And then we're gonna break down the imperial chapels and the chapels of the pharaohs. So yeah, so we're going to talk about the Osirian chapel, the portals of resurrection. You can't leave them out. You can't leave them out, right? But before we get to that, I got a question. I got a question. Would you rather teach sacred mysteries or guard them in silence? Like and comment below. Let me know. Would you rather teach sacred mysteries or guard them in silence? I realize that we as a people are kind of loud about a lot of stuff, but I just tell me. All right, here we go. The Osirian chapels, portals of resurrection. Here we go. So beyond the central axis of Amun's temple lie the Osirian chapels, the hidden sanctuaries of rebirth. Now the Osirian chapels is right here. Okay, it's right around here. Okay, and so these chapels, such as the Osiris Hekajet and the Osiris Lord of Eternity, Osiris Lord of Light, form a sacred circuit around the temple's rear where the sunlight fades and shadows reign. So now originally they would be back here, but nowadays, they move things, right? So, but yeah, they they had these chapels are now these chapels, such as like I said, the Osiris Hekajet. Okay, the Osiris, Lord of Eternity, and Osiris, Lord of Light, form sacred circuit around the temple. Okay, and in this, it appears where the sunlight fades and shadows reign. Okay, this is towards the end of the day, right? And so now, in the ritual space, in these chambers, the priests of Karnak perform rites of union between Amun-Ra and Osiris, between light and dark, heaven and the Duat, right? Each chapel was a microcosm of the cosmic body, walls depicting the resurrection of the god, the rising of the Nile, the birth of the morning sun. The darkness here is intentional. Okay, these spaces, thresholds between life and death, being and non-being, to enter them is basically to symbolically die, to undergo this dissolution that precedes rebirth. Okay, they remember each part of the temple was some sort of phase. There was a life phase, and there's also here in the Osirian chapels the death phase. Okay, the priests had to undergo these processes. See what I'm saying? They had to do it. Otherwise, they would their priesthood would be null and void, right? And get not to mention the kings had to go through that process. Let's see what the people are saying. Yeah, people rather they would teach the sacred mysteries rather than guard them in secret. Yeah, okay. And there are a lot of teachers in who's part of the Ujumbe family, so I get it. I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. People rather teach. Yeah, I do too. I do too. But sometimes you got to be selective in who you're teaching. You know, I get it. I get it. I get it. So, yeah. So, through these sacred scenes, the pharaoh himself became Osiris, right? Dying to the old self and being reborn as he lived in Heru. Okay. So here's another image that is Aset and Nekbet flanking uh, Osiris. They're not, and some people like to say that they're behind him. It does look like that. I think that, but also think about this: there are some images where the queens are right next to the king, not behind. Okay, and I think for this purpose, they did not draw them. They won't be able to see all three of them, so they just put them like in this kind of order. And then there's the four canopic jars in front of him. Mm-hmm. So we have we have inscriptions of transformation where within the smaller Osirian chapels and the smaller chapels there, especially the ones near the Akhmenu of Tutmosis III, the Akhmenu Tutmosis III, that is, yeah, around the back here. Let me see where's yeah, right around here. Akhmenu Tutmosis. So there are some Osirian chapels here, but then, yeah, I stand corrected. They're around the back right here. But yeah, there's some by the Akhmenu. And they draw from the pyramid text and coffin text traditions, uh, would later uh, be the prequel to the book of coming forth by day. And so they'll have some invocations to Osiris. It's hail to you, Osir, Lord of eternity, King of the living, whose body is eternal and whose soul is Ra. And then there's a resurrection one. It says, rise up, for your bones are joined with your limbs are gathered. You awaken as one who lives. Your heart beats again, O Lord of the West. Okay. Then there's the union with Amun. There's a union with Amun, right? Some inscriptions link Osiris to Amun as Amun Osiris, merging the hidden one with the resurrected one, a powerful symbol of cyclical transformation. The Osirian chapels remind us that the temple of Amun was not only a solar sanctuary but also a labyrinth. Okay, a hidden world of resurrection where divine consciousness was renewed beneath the veil of darkness. Right, these chapels were spiritual laboratories, inscribed manuals of the soul's regeneration. Okay, so now we have the Imperial Chapel, the continuum of divine kingship. Even as dynasties rose and fell, okay, these sacred current, the sacred current of Karnak never stopped, right? So during the late period, and the Ptolemaic age, rulers from distant lands, Nubian, Persian, and Greek, all sought to graft their rule into this sacred space. Among the monuments stands what we call the Imperial Chapel, right? A continuation of the ancient royal code. So we have the new kings, but they have ancient rituals, right? Pharaohs like Taharka, our dude, Taharka of the 25th dynasty. He is one of the Nubian pharaohs, Kushite king from the south. What is now Sudan. Now, speaking of Sudan, there's a lot going on with our family in Sudan. Okay, send prayers and positive vibes to Sudan, and kick the UAE out. Kick the people that the other imperialists of the East, kick them out, because we always focus on Western imperialism and we forget there's an Eastern form of imperialism also. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on in Africa. Shout out to my big brother Will. He sent me something on TikTok. It said there was over 40 to 50 armed battles going on in Africa right now, and the majority of which were sponsored by external forces. Yeah, and Congo and Sudan is a hotbed right now. Okay, so send prayers to the family in Sudan. Okay, that is our beloved mother, and we got to we got to do what we can to raise some kind of awareness, right? So Karnak, King Taharka, the Kushite king, restored the old shrines with reverence, inscribing his devotion to Amun of Karnak as the source of all power. Taharka understood what many conquerors did not. You cannot simply take Egypt. Egypt must accept you. Okay, you hear what I said? You couldn't just take over and occupy Egypt. Egypt had to accept you, and acceptance only comes through proper processes, the proper rituals, the proper alignments, the proper reverence to Amun. You don't give that reverence or that just do and then turn around and put your people on, put your thing on top of that. No, Taharka knew better because he was African, right? But now later rulers such as Philip Arcadius, half brother Alexander the Great, and Ptolemy the Third added their offerings, blending Greek and Egyptian symbolism. Falcons beside eagles, lotus beside the laurel. They did a lot of those things. This fusion of iconography reflects the enduring law. No empire could rule Egypt unless it was sanctioned. Okay, and so then you had these sacred texts. Okay, the Imperial Chapel stands as a theological bridge, a testimony that spiritual legitimacy, not mere, it wasn't just about conquest, it was defined as divine kingship. Now, later chapels, particularly those built under the Greco-Roman era, contained hymns blending Egyptian theology with Greco-Roman language. Okay, they had invocations to Amun as Zeus. Okay, and so they did those kind of things. So these texts maintained some kind of living priestly script even under foreign rule. Okay, and so and then of course over time that we had the Coptic Church. They would build churches in and around the Temple of Karnak, as well as when the Muslims came. When the Muslims came, they also built mosque or used some of these stones for their buildings. Okay, yeah, they did that. So the chapels of the other pharaohs in the Neteru, the network of divine presence, scattered throughout Karnak's precincts or smaller sanctuaries, as we've seen, there's smaller little places, chapels of other pharaohs in Neteru, each dedicated to a particular god or ancestral ruler. Among them was the festival hall of Jehuti-Mesu III, okay, also called the Ankh-Manu, okay, the Ankh-Manu. Shout out to brother Baba Aswar Kwesi. He does a lot of tours out there in Egypt, and he talks about this. Okay, it's a place of spiritual geometry, a temple to the hidden one and to the divine ancestors, where the pharaoh communed with those who ruled before him. The Ankh-Manu's architecture is unique. Its columns are shaped like tent poles, invoking the military campaigns of Jehuti-Mesu III, but also symbolizing the temporary nature of earthly power compared to the eternal nature of divine rule. Okay. Now, so nearby chapels, we have the nearby chapels to Kansu. We had Mut, Kansu, and Ptah and Sekhmet. Okay, they created a web of divine power. There was some kind of divine network that was happening. Each served as a station for the processional bark of Amun, a point where each Neteru's presence touched the earth. Like I said, it was a touchdown point, receiving offerings, oracles, and songs. Now, across the smaller chapels dedicated to Mut, Kansupata, and Sekhmet, the inscriptions preserve liturgical refrains and cosmic hymns and songs, right? So they had some of these hymns or some of these little songs. This is like the chapel, in the chapel of Mut. It says they will sing a song like Mother of the Neteru, Eye of Ra, the great one of Isharu, who gives life to all that breathes. That is in the chapel of Mut. Then we have the chapel of Ptah. Even though this is in Waset, because Waset is Thebes, right? Get it. But the temple of Mennefer or Hetka Ptah, that's where Ptah is. But now we see that there's a chapel of Ptah where there's something to him. He who spoke and creation came to be, who formed the Netzeru through his heart and tongue. Mm-hmm. We may have to talk about Ptah a little bit more. We may have to talk about him. Now, Ptah represents the power of divine speech, the creative word. His presence and Karnak reminds us that language itself is a creative force that properly uttered words that can shape the reality, right? Then we have the chapel of Khonsu. Okay, the chapel of Khonsu, the mighty youth. They say the mighty youth, he who traverses the sky, the Lord of the Crescent, whose power renews the world each month, monthly cycles, monthly, the full moon and everything. Okay, matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the full moon is coming up. Okay, each inscription was a vibration of divine energy, ensuring that continuous resonance between the temple, the people, and the cosmos. Okay, together these sanctuaries form a hidden grid of the temple. Okay, and an energetic network that mirrored the stars and balanced the cosmic order within the precinct. Now we have some hidden logic or comedic science. Yeah, we got that. We got that. Shout out to Brother Ferguson. We're going to do a little bit of comedic science. Now, the white chapel represents renewal, right? Resurrection of divine kingship. The red chapel symbolizes manifestation. The moment of divine energy becomes visible to the world. Okay, the Osirian chapel embodies resurrection, transformation of death uh, into life. The Imperial chapel, symbolic of continuity, the unbroken lineage of sacred authority, and the chapels of the Neteru form the constellations of divinity in and around the chapel, as above, so below, ensuring that all forces, solar, lunar, stellar, and otherwise, remain in balance. Each chamber, okay, each carving, each offering table served as a interface between the mortal and the divine, where sound, scent, and symbols awakened um awakened the eternal presence of the hidden one, hidden yet everywhere. They felt everywhere. Here within the chapels of Karnak, the ancient architects inscribed a theology of light and shadow, the science of divine presence concealed in stone. Okay, they are not merely ruins. They were resonators, still humming with the frequency of creation, still whispering the hidden names of Amun. So now, okay, I really want to get this last one out. The sanctuary of the bark, the solar bark, the throne of the hidden one, and I'm chicken roll, right? So at the very core of Karnak, beyond the towering pylons and the endless hypostyle hall, lies the chamber few ever go into. Okay, it is the small, dark, unadorned compared to any other place around it. Yet this is the axis mundi, or the axis of the cosmos, right? The most sacred space in Waset, known as the sanctuary of the solar bark, right? The bark of Ra, or the bark of the hidden one. Here, this is the sanctum sanctorum of the Jesser Jesseru, the hidden, this place where the hidden one rested in his sacred boat. It is the Ursur At Amun, the mighty of the prow. It was written. It was within this portable shrine that the invisible Netzeru manifested his presence on earth, and around this small chamber revolved the entire spiritual machinery of ancient Kemet. Now, but before I go further into it, got a question. I got a this November, right? I got a question. Here we go. Christmas before November or after November? Because according to some people, Christmas started September 1st. I'm saying, y'all let me know. All right, Christmas before November or after? Like and comment below. Wow, I came from a culture, came from a family where every month had their month. You see what I'm saying? Uh, so you know, yeah, it's wild because yeah. Let me know. Let me know. All right. So the sanctuary of the bark of the throne, the hidden one, and so we have the. This is one of the images right here. Beautiful image of the solar bark of Ra. Okay, and so now we have the chamber of divine invisibility. The sanctuary of the bark of Ra was not a hall of spectacle, but of silence. Its purpose was to conceal the divine essence, not to reveal it. Okay, every morning the high priest would approach the doorway, having purified themselves at the temple lake. Let me show you. Temple lake, having purified themselves at the temple lake, they would recite the opening of the mouth ritual. They would enter barefooted, shrouded. This place was shrouded full of incense, smoke, whispering hymns, and awakening the Netru within. Okay, themselves, within themselves also. Then came the moment of the opening of the shrine's doors. This is in the Jesaru of the Holy of Holies, right in the innermost part of the temple. Okay, inside rested the bark of Amun, carved of precious wood, overlaid with gold, with miniature with a small miniature shrine at the center. Within the now sat the divine image, the statue of Amun, veiled in linen, anointed with sacred oils. So they had what you call the ritual of awakening. Okay, because it is absolutely, mind blowing. So the high priest, the Kari Heb, the first prophet of Amun, would approach the sealed doors just before dawn. The seals would be intact from the previous night. Okay, clay impressions, ensuring that no one had entered during the hours of darkness. He would break the seals with this knowledge. He said, "I break your seal in your name of he who is upon this his seal. I open your door in your name of he who is in the horizon." Each action accompanied by precise words, nothing arbitrary, nothing casual. You know how we do it. We would just say, I'm gonna say this and be all right with it. Each action was purposeful. When the doors were open, light from the east filtered through the axis of the temple, striking the golden face of the Netzaru. Okay, symbolic of the sunrise that echoed creation itself. They made sure that the sunlight was time to make their room glow. For in that instant, the Netzaru awoke within the world once more. Right, the priest would prostrate himself, then rise and sing the hymn to Amun. The text is preserved in various places. So it says, "Awaken peace." He would say, "Awaken peace. Your awakening is peaceful. Amun-Ra, Lord of the thrones of the two lands, awaken peace. Your beauty is before you. Your power surrounds you. Your rays illuminate the two lands." So let me see. The question was, would you celebrate before November or after? Miss Blue said after. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So now there was solar alignment in this. The entire temple of Karnak was constructed as a celestial instrument aligned with the rising of the sun at the winter solstice. When the morning light entered the temple's first gate and traveled this narrow corridor of stone, it reached the sanctuary precisely as the sun rose, illuminating that space. This was no architectural coincidence. This was solar knowledge and invocation, the sacred synchronization of heaven and earth. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about that precision. Think about how focused they had to be to make this. The architects had to calculate the exact angle of the sun's rays on a specific day. Wow. Then orient massive stone structures along its axis to make sure it's right. And they had to account for the fact that this alignment would hold true not just for a year, but for centuries. So that lets me know if they have set these stones on that day and time to make sure that the sunlight hits every year, every decade, every century, they was observing that same space and time for thousands of years. Yeah. So through geometry, light, and orientation, the temple acted as a receiver of cosmic energy, capturing the solar current and reanimated the Netzaru's presence in matter. Okay. In that brief moment, the bar became living. The boat became a living vessel. The body of the hidden one infused with the fire of Ra. The sanctuary was not say a resting place, but it was a cosmic docking station, a terrestrial portal through which the divine force entered the world. Okay. And so let me see. Let me see here. Okay. So the bark was also seen as a royal symbol. Okay. The sacred bark of Amun mirrored cosmic bark of Ra and sailed the sky by day and throughout the underworld by night. There's two. I told you before. There's two boats. There's one, the boat of a million years, and then the boat of the night. Yeah, it symbolized the journey of consciousness, the perpetual voyage between light and darkness, the seen and the unseen. During great festivals, this bark was carried from the sanctuary on the shoulders of the priests, gliding through the temple courtyards and onto the Nile, where it sailed to Luxor or the Western necropolis. Right, the Western some of the kings would be buried. These processions, such as the beautiful Feast of the Valley, okay, were not, say, religious parades. They were cosmic reenactment of the God's journey through the heavens. The people would line the processional, chanting, weeping, shout, rejoicing as the boat would sail by them. Every stop along the way, each chapel and shrine represented a station of that voyage. Remember, we talked about the 12 gates. We talked about the gates, and so they are reenacting that. Every stop along the way had its meaning. And then there was layers of sacred architecture, right? And so the supporting chambers, the offering hall, where priests presented food, incense, and flowers to sustain the ancestors 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. Fresh offerings were brought, bread, they brought beer, okay, meat, vegetables, fruits, wine, and water. The Netaru didn't eat in a physical sense, but the Ka, or the spirit, the life force of the offerings, nourished the divine presence, right? And then we had the chamber of purification, where the boat or the solar bark was clean and adorned, sacred oils mixed with specific fragrances, cedar, myrrh, and cinnamon. Each scent corresponded with a different aspect of divine energy, right? Then we had the chapel of divine birth, linking Amun to the eternal regeneration of kingship. Here, relief showed the sacred marriage between the god and the queen mother, producing the next pharaoh, and the chapel of the Ubgod or Ogdod. Okay, dedicated to the 8 primordial Netaru of creation, those who gave birth to light itself. The Ogdod represented the forces and chemical elements existed before creation: darkness, infinity, hiddenness, formlessness. From their union came the first light, the first land, the first breath. Okay, every wall, every corridor served a purpose. Okay, then we had the hidden presence of Amun, right? To the Egyptians, the hidden one was not just, he wasn't a Netaru in a sense. His power lay in mystery and stillness and concealment. His name literally means the hidden one. In the sanctuary, this principle was perfected. The Netaru unseen, enclosed in darkness, yet omnipresent in every breath of incense and flicker of flame, right? The priests did not worship this in a modern sense. They performed acts of divine maintenance, sustaining the living current that flowed from Amun's hidden form. The temple, the boat, the rituals were all part of this vast energetic system, what we might call today spiritual technology or sacred science. Through this technology, the Egyptians maintained this order, this ma'at, ensuring that the sun would rise and set, the Nile would flood, and the universe would remain in harmony. Right, all is well with the world. So the sanctuary of the boat or the bark, therefore, was the beating heart of the cosmos, the place where creation rekindled at each dawn. Yeah, but we have a inner meeting, right? Got to get to the sacred relics, right? There's an inner meaning. There's an inner or esoteric meaning for this. Just as the hidden one rests in darkness of the shrine, so too does the divine spark hidden within the heart of every person. Seen is unseen, but yet eternal. So to awaken it requires purity, it requires alignment, and it also requires some hope. Okay, harmony between the outer and inner worlds. In this way, the sanctuary of the bark or the boat of a million years was not only a center of Karnak, but it's a mirror of consciousness itself, right? The journey through the temple from the open courtyards to the dark inner room mirrors the initiate's path from external knowledge to inner illumination. That's the goal of the process. That is the goal for the priest to get that inner illumination, to be in that darkness, to receive that light. When the light of the rising sun strikes the hidden one, it is also a moment of reawakening, of awakening within. When the divine within the man meets the divine beyond him or her, the two become one. So, in the sanctuary of the boat of a million years, the priest of the hidden one or Amun guarded a truth far older than kingship. Okay, that the divine is hidden, yet everywhere, silent, yet eternal, unseen, yet sustaining all life. Every stone, every light incarnate was built to express that mystery, the eternal voyage of the hidden one who sails forever through the waters of creation. And I don't have it with me, but I seen an image that broke down the duat and the earth realm at the same time. Remind me, I'll have it next week, but it was pretty cool. So the sacred relics, here we go. Sacred relics and statues of vessels of power. Now, we got to talk about the objects. We got to talk about some of these things that was in there. The sacred relics and statues that filled the hidden chambers, because these weren't just art, they weren't just decoration. It was vessels of divine power, carefully crafted according to sacred proportions, consecrated through elaborate rituals themselves, and maintained with precision. And the inner sanctuaries, okay, the sacred objects were everywhere, and yet every placement carried significance. The statues of the hidden one were often clothed with linen or adorned with jewelry. Okay, each morning after the doors were opened, the Neteru awakened. Priests would remove the old linens, wash the statue, and anoint it with new ones. Okay, and the statue's eyes, sometimes gold inlaid, and were designed to catch and reflect light. In Egyptian thought, the eyes were portals. When light hit the statue's eyes at the right angle, the God's essence was understood to be present, gazing out through stone. Okay, now and then we had statues of the divine family. We had statues of the divine family. Moots statues were accompanied by offerings of milk, bread, flowers. The goddess, as divine mother, receive the substance as a mother provides, creating a reciprocal relationship. Her statues often showed her wearing the double crown, the upper and lower Egypt. Kansu was in the lunar chamber contained vessels aligned to the moon's phases, right? During the new moon, certain vessels will be filled. During certain phases, the vessels will be filled, and as the moon changes, others will be filled. So the priest tracked the lunar cycles with precision, understanding that Kansu's energy went ebbed and flowed with the moon, and that offerings had to align with these cosmic rhythms, right? And so they had those things called ritual vessels that were more than ceremonial tools. Bronze chalices, bowls, and sistrums were carefully tuned, creating sound frequencies that resonated within the stone corridor. So think about this. Think about this. The sistrum, okay, the little tambourine, the sistrum, uh, a rattle. It was used. It wasn't just to make noise. It was engineering sound. The metal bars were spaced in specific intervals to create a particular frequency when they shook them. Okay, shout out to the family that uses tambourines in church. So Egyptian metallurgists understood resonance, understood how sound waves move through different material, even down to the tambourine. The sistrums used in rituals were tuned to frequencies that the priests believed harmonized with divine energy. Then they had bronze bowls, which struck, created singing tones that would last for minutes. Those were used in meditation, ritual timing, and creating the sonic environment that fascinated altered states of consciousness. Right now, then we had the Jed pillar. We got to get that. Okay, special sacred objects. The Jed pillar representing Osiris' backbone it shows stability, endurance, and then we have the Ankh, which is the key of life. But we're gonna get to the Ankh in a second. But the Jed pillar, when ritually raised during the Hatshepsut festival, symbolized the resurrection of Osiris and the renewal of the king's vitality. The physical act of raising the pillar, a heavy wooden object covered in gold, was understood to trigger cosmic renewal and power. The Ankh, okay, was held by priests during blessing ceremonies, pointed towards the pharaoh or towards offerings. It was understood as a conduit through which divine life force would flow. This was a multi-layered meaning. This whole place was layered. They had the instruments, the statues, the sacred containers. All this represented all this represented cosmic order, amplifying the presence of the Netaru within the temple and allowing priests to meditate between the divine and earthly realms. Every object had multiple layers of meaning, practical, symbolic, and spiritual. Practically, a bronze bowl held water for purification. So now, before we go, today we talked about the inner sanctuaries, the chapels of Karnak, talked about the sanctuary of the bark, the throne of the hidden one, and I'm finna check roll. But before we get to that, here's some books. The Book of Gates, the Sacred Science, that's really good. The affiliate links in the description. Temple in Man, gotta get that. The Egyptian Miracle, that's a good one too. All right. Bonus book, Sekhmet, Transformation in the Belly of the Goddess. Right. But get this, I got a new book. It is a new ebook, y'all. It is a new ebook. Yeah. That's what I've been working on the last few weeks. Yes, a new ebook, Decoding the Symbols, A Beginner's Guide to Kemetic Spiritual Science. It is coming out in December. You can pre-order it. It is on Amazon. You can pre-order it. Check it out. But in the meantime, if you want a free quick guide, like and comment, decode, and we can get you that quick guide. But yeah, this book is coming out next December 15th. So go ahead and pre-order that. And yeah, we're gonna do some things with that. All right. Now, and the reason why is because we're going to get a book circle coming out next year. We're going to have a Ujumbe book circle, and it's going to be a small group to go into details of some of these books. And we'll have a book circle coming up. Check and roll. Ujumbe members, shout out to Sister Abina Scott, Brother Mo. Shout out to Brother Mo. He passed his test. He been studying and he passed the test. Shout out to Brother Mo. Brother Isu, One Voice Africa, and we have a new member, Sister Jacqueline Njai. Shout out to Sister Jackie. They are Ujumbe members. They're going to get the videos. They're going to get the information before everybody else. All right, join the membership because membership has its privileges. Right now, let me check roll really quick. Eric Robertson. Shout out to Bashir Muhammad, Sergey, Karen, Brad Kelly, Marie. James, Craig, Sister Jacqueline, Tatenda, Pharaoh Hitzkapata, shout out to him. Gladys, Valerie, Tiana, Fatah, shout out to Brother Fatah, Miss Blue, Brother Ferguson, Kiara, Sephora, Kefra, Baba Yakya, Melvin, Harvey, Sister Linda, shout out to the fam. And the Kemetic Nation is coming back. They are coming back in a few weeks. And so I'm excited about it. Yeah, we got some things to break down. We got some things to discuss. Shout out to Kemetic Nation. And so, yeah, we're not done. We're not done because next week we're going to talk about the hidden chambers. We're going to talk about those chambers beneath Karnak. We talked about the things that are in and around it, but what about what's under it? Yep. We're going to talk about that. So if you like the content, share it with somebody that may enjoy it or on your social media platform of choice. Check it out. Don't just share it to everybody that they just move on with it. Share it with somebody that may like it or your social media platform of choice. Now, we talked about the Temple of Karnak, the hidden path of the initiates. We're not done. Okay. So you listen to King Cam Ujumbe podcast, Ujumbe means message. And I will talk to you later.